Right, good afternoon and welcome to Life After Death, a Guardsman's Tale. I just want to talk today about Afghanistan. It seems the internet's gone crazy, or everybody's now a subject matter expert on Afghanistan due to the recent withdrawal. So I'm going to give my views and opinions. First of all, as a former soldier who served there, got my Op Peric 13 t-shirt on here, number 12 Company Irish Guards, the winter of 2010-2011. And I'm also a military historian as well. So I'm going to give my take on it, but from a different perspective. Because at the moment, everyone is focusing on the refugees and, oh my God, we left this country in such a state. Now I'm going to go in from a different angle today and say, right, what was Afghanistan like before September the 11th and the attack by Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden at the World Trade Center? So I'm not going to talk about the first, second or even third Afghan wars. Well, I'm talking about them now, aren't I, really? The Anglo-Afghan wars of the 1839-42, 1878 and 1880, and the third one of 1919. So I'm not going to talk about them. Let's talk about the Russians and 1979 to 1989. They pulled out, okay? They were defeated by the Mujahideen and other groups funded by the CIA, and dare I say, was a British Special Forces involved there training the Mujahideen and the Northern Alliance? Probably so. Now, let's look at what happened there, that power vacuum that happened after 1989. You had a Northern Alliance, you had warlords, you had drug barons, and then you had the emergence of the Taliban then. They take control of Kabul in 1996. Afghanistan now is under Sharia law in most parts. It's a safe haven for terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. They're using Afghanistan now, a barren state, to conduct all their terrorist planning and future actions such as 9/11. 9/11 happened, changed the world completely. We've sent soldiers into, coalition soldiers by the way, all US led. Tony Blair gets in bed with Bush, and we go straight into Afghanistan, followed the following couple of years then straight into Iraq with a perceived illegal war because no weapons of mass destruction found. Now, we're now an extension of US foreign policy because it's all about the war on terror. Okay, so this is key here, foreign policy, US foreign policy. So there's no long-term stability plan for Iraq, okay? We shouldn't have disseminated the security and all military forces, so police and all Air Force, Navy, I suppose, yeah, and Army. They all got like scrapped, and we had to rebuild it from scratch. So then we had a long-term stabilisation plan. With all the death toll coming in at Royal Wusson Bassett, the British public lost their resolve, okay, in Iraq. So we pulled out in 2007. It's quite ironic actually, because the Irish Guards were there in 2003 when the war started, and we actually handed over Basra to insurgents, to the Jam or the Mahdi Adi in 2007 as well. So that in turn put pressure politically onto the Americans. They had to then divert troops from Baghdad, where they were under a harsh counter-insurgency, losing 3 soldiers a day in the summer of 2007, to bring more troops down to Basra to do the job that the British did. So we lost international favour with the Americans. So to make that up, we decided to take these troops that were in Iraq into Afghanistan. Now, we became part of Operation Enduring Freedom, and that's when all our protocols then came in line with the Americans, because we came directly under their command then, under, like I just said before, Operation Enduring Freedom, which was under the bigger war on terror. Let's move forward then now. Our policy of counterinsurgency then changed from a policy of hearts and minds to a policy of standing toe-to-toe with defeating the Taliban militarily. And when you start calling in Apache guntroops, artillery, fixing rotary wing in this sort of counterinsurgency, you've lost the political elements. And counterinsurgency warfare is 80% political for the local population, for the longevity of the campaign, to 20% militarily. I fundamentally believe that we went 80% military and about 20% political. So, a quick brew. We've spent hundreds of thousands, millions, if not trillions of pounds investing in Afghanistan. It started with Karzai in the first elections in 2004, and the corruption in that country is just rife, okay? People at the top, at every level, dipping the hand in the pot. So many politicians have fled with tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of foreign aid in that country for their own pockets, okay, for their own financial gains. This was evident this week when the Prime Minister and all the chief politicians left with hundreds of millions of pounds. So the army weren't being paid, the police weren't being paid. Are they going to fight? No, they're not. Okay, so what happens here now? Biden says he's going to pull out. So by the very same definition of we're an extension of US foreign policy, we're pulling out because we haven't got the manpower or resources to govern and train the Afghan National Army and National Police Force all by ourselves. So for 10-15 years now, we've been training the Afghan Army, the Afghan police. Okay, we've put together an infrastructure to govern the whole country as a whole. We put trillions, US, mainly from the US, and a lot of money from Britain as well. Your taxpayers' money has gone into this country. So the infrastructure's in place. They've got an army of 350,000 people to fight off the Taliban and be self-reliant. Why can't they do it? Because people at the top, their leaders, their elected leaders, have just jumped ships with hundreds of millions of pounds in the bank, which should be paying. So the whole system for the top then implodes. Now, I'm hearing a lot of, we should take these refugees, we've got a duty of care. If we had such a duty of care, where was this duty of care in 1989 when the Russians left? Okay? I would personally say our first and only priority is the duty of care of our veterans, okay? People who are suffering. You've got amputees who are getting inadequate treatment. You've got a massive surge now, not just at the end of COVID, but also because what's happening now with the perception of failure and sacrifice from our veterans from time in Afghanistan and Iraq as well, which is detrimental to their long-term mental health. The longest part of PTSD manifests over a 20-year period. So a lot of veterans are going to be hurting now. They're going to feel their sacrifices are in vain. Okay, I fundamentally disagree with that, because for 20 years we kept the enemy fixed in Afghanistan. We fought them now and we fought them well. And also as well, you've got to look at the financial element as well. I'm going to go with the military element now with COVID. Okay, why we're pulling out now? The whole world economy is on its backside because of COVID. Okay, and this has had a long-term knock-on effect to US foreign policy. So you've got to look at that as well from a sort of different perspective. So for me, it's all political sleight of hand. People, and you've got to look at the war aims. Like we go back to again in 2001, we went into Afghanistan. What did we go in there and were they achieved? So Afghanistan is not a failure. Yes, we defeated Al Qaeda, and yes, we eventually got in 2010. We got Bin Laden. So Afghanistan for me is not a failure. We gave them every chance. The best hope was there. We gave him equipment, we gave him training, we funded him, we put the infrastructure in place for him, political infrastructure, leadership infrastructure. But unfortunately, due to the tribal nature and the corruption that's rife within their culture, the Afghan people have failed themselves. Okay, different perspective there. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.